Hi, I'm Dom Bowman, and this is VoiceOver Full Disclosure. I'm glad you're here. In today's video, I'm going to talk about something that I touched on a little bit in my last video, which is sound treatment. The space you record in is arguably the most important factor when it comes to your sound quality. More important than an expensive microphone, better than any fancy audio processing equipment or software. It's the space you record in, because even a sensitive microphone will pick up bad reflections of sound or the neighbors mowing their lawn and all that stuff. I'm going to get into how I treat my space and sort of the things I've had to do over time to learn that. That's coming up in today's video. Stick around. Okay, so sound treatment. I break down sound treatment into two broad categories. First, sound isolation, keeping unwanted sound out and keeping my sound in. To isolate sound, I put up a barrier, or I go find it and turn it off, or I record at a different time or something. All right, so that's sound isolation. Keep the bad stuff out. Inside the space, there's sound dampening, sound deadening, to keep reflections from bouncing off the surfaces and hitting the microphone, that kind of stuff. All right. So those are the two factors we're going to cover. But before we get into it, one thing I had to realize is that sound isn't just a magical thing that somebody makes a noise and then it somehow magically comes over to the microphone or to my ear and picks it up. No, it's actually air. So you've heard people say that there's no sound in space. Well, that's because there's no air in space. So sound is just the compression and decompression of air molecules in the air. So if I'm sitting in a fluid of air and there's a fluid of air on the other side of this wall, that fluid of air has something happen that vibrates those air molecules. It hits the wall, vibrates it, moves over to the next portion of air, vibrates that, and that air continues on and vibrates the air that I'm next to, and I can hear it. So if I'm thinking about sound and the air that it's in as a physical thing, a fluid that I'm sitting in, it makes it a little bit easier to figure out what kind of stuff is going to affect my audio. Okay, sound isolation is the first part. You can either block it off by creating a barrier, like I did here with my booth. You don't have to spend a lot of money. I spent $1,800 on this used booth that the guy didn't have any use for, and I don't think he treated the inside of it as well as he could have to make it sound even better. It's not super fancy. It's a double layered single wall just on one foundation booth, and it works fine. If all you have is a closet, then that's what you got. Put as many blankets and stuff in there as you can to try to dampen the sound, which I'll get into next. Make it in the center of the house, away from the outside exterior windows and sound, things happening outside. Get right over to the next wall and get into your audio, right? Another thing you can do is try to find whatever it is making the sound and turn it off. Turn off the AC that's humming. Get away from the fridge or turn it off while you're recording. Record in the middle of the night, like I do, to try to avoid all that sound. Okay, so isolating myself from the noise out there and making sure the neighbors don't hear me is great. What doesn't work for sound isolation, which I found out the hard way, is those sound blankets that you've seen in my previous videos. I had those put up on the wall here because I thought that the sound dampening wasn't working well enough with the current foam that's attached to the walls here. So I put the blankets over it, layers and layers of blankets, and it did fine for sound dampening. But when I used to have that thing for just my fort, and that's all it was, I had those things hung up and clipped to the ceiling, it didn't work for sound isolation. It worked fine for sound dampening, but it doesn't isolate because it has to be a solid, rigid, sturdy structure that's going to isolate, right? So moving on to the next part. Sound dampening. That's what you think of most. That's what most people are talking about when they say sound treatment. It's not really soundproofing. Soundproofing is what you hear people talk about sound isolation. Soundproofing is not just putting up foam in your space to prevent echo. This would be like sound dampening, sound deadening. Foam, it's got to be dense foam. It can't be just flimsy, thin stuff. This stuff, basically, it creates little pockets of air particles that when the vibrating air hits that and it hits the next piece of it, it has a little bit of give, a little bit of resistance, but it sort of absorbs it. You also have scattering effect. That's why you see these little diamond shape, these egg crate shapes. I don't know if you can see back here, but I'm going to get a little bit closer. The parts of the foam here that are sort of done at angles, those will scatter the sound, at least a little bit. So I want to eliminate flat surfaces from my recording space. Next, I had a problem with a resonating sound that the air particles that I was vibrating in this room would make it to my windows and they would ring. I'll show you what I mean in a moment. Let's get the microphone over there. Are we close? Let's get the camera. Okay, can you see that? Check this out. I put up foam and you'll see why. Okay. Listen to this. Okay, obviously don't want that. Shouldn't be a problem as long as I don't touch it, right? But listen. Hear the little tink that happens? I was getting that a lot. So I put up this foam. As long as it's touching the glass, should be fine. Okay, good. So I'm not going to have the muffled proximity sound that I get whenever I'm close to that, so I'm going to make sure I record away from that space. That's a dense foam that's not too good at sound dampening, but it'll sound dampen lower frequencies, and as long as it's touching the glass, it'll stop that thing from vibrating so much. Another thing I had an issue with in this space in particular was this low humming. I couldn't get rid of it. I tried to take just extra foam that I had and stuff it into the corners. That didn't work. I put up extra sound blankets all over everywhere. That didn't work. I still had it. And I had this terrible sound whenever I made like a low frequency noise, like you. It was a booming effect. If I have a video, I'll put it in here so you can see that. Okay, so as it turns out, I don't have the video from before I installed all this new sound treatment to show you a test and comparison, but luckily I do have the sound, and I'm going to play that for you right now. I'm going to play it on my end, and I'll give you my reaction to it. I just took the clips, first measuring, what the humming sounded like in the middle, at the top, the bottom, in the corners, that kind of thing. So let's roll on this and see. The microphone in the middle. Yo. Microphone up top. Yo. Oh my God. Mic down low. Yo. My God. I hear more bass when I go towards the top and more bass when I go towards the bottom. Let's go towards a corner and see what effect it has. Yo. I'm literally at loss for words. Yo. The corner near the camera. Yo. Holy moly. Okay, so as you can see, the bass was pretty significant in those areas. And when I was listening to my sound from over here, I looked back at the camera and I had trouble collecting myself. I was so dumbfounded with how much bass is in the corners. And that's still the case now, but it's not nearly as much as it was. So I'm going to quickly run through those same tests in comparison right now. This is the test from the middle right here. Yo. All right, up top. Yo. It sounds like I'm in a wooden box, because I am. Down here. Ew, ew, ew. That's also next to a wall, but and over here, this is where I really heard a lot of it. Ew, ew, ew. Okay, there's still a lot, but back over here, ew, ew. Over near the camera, ew, ew. But here in the middle, right where I have most of the foam, ew, ew, ew. Not so much. There's still some, but as long as I don't have any lines where I'm required to say ew, ew, you know, it should be okay. Yeah, okay. So, quick side-by-side comparison. The middle, I'm going to play the old before, and then I'll do the after here. Okay, so. Ew, ew, ew. Ew, ew, ew. Ew, ew, ew. Oh my God. Ew, ew, ew. Down low. Ew, 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 ew. My God. Ew, ew, ew. Ew, ew. Ew, ew, ew. Ew, ew, ew. Ew, ew. Ew, ew, ew. Corner near the camera. Ew, ew, ew. Ew, ew, ew. Okay, so right here in the middle. Ew, ew, ew. It's not so bad. Okay, back to me in the past. Okay. So what I've done is, let's see if I can get extra light and bring this camera around. As I've put I've put foam up on the ceiling, and I've put these foam into the corner. More foam on the level that I speak at, and thicker foam like this stuff. I'll put a link in the description. It's not sponsored. I'll put a link to this stuff as well. So as much foam as I can, and then I put more over the windows. And this seems to work pretty well. Put some down in the corners as well, the bottom corners. But I noticed that the effect was not as beneficial to have it all down there. So I tried to put as much as I can here at this level that I speak at. All right. Okay. So let's see, what do we cover? We covered why sound has the effect that it does. We covered sound isolation, isolating me from the sound, right? And isolating the sound from me, same thing, right? And then sound treating the space to prevent reflection, resonating stuff, reverb, that kind of stuff in the space. What works and what doesn't work, okay? I'm going to put a link in the description of this video for a video that I saw that actually, he did a test of using a whole bunch of different types of material, and he showed that for sound absorption, at least, a lot of the foam that you'll find is just too flimsy. It doesn't work that well. It's just absorbing all the sound. So it's about placement of it. It's about the kind of stuff you use and the space you're recording in. One thing I've learned is that if I were to be recording in a larger room and I had the same kind of sound treatment up here, I don't think I would have any kind of low frequency hum at all. But because it's so small, this space here, it's about 4 by 4 by about 7 feet tall space. It has this low frequency hum unless I sound treat the living dickens out of it. So that's today's video. I hope this helped you. And if you have any suggestions or any experience that you have, put it in the comments down below and I'll try to get to it and comment, and we'll have a discussion about it and see what the better methods are and see where we can improve. That's the goal. Okay. That's all I have for today. Take care of yourself, treat yourself well, and treat your space good too. Have a good one. Bye.